Okay, so hello guys, this is Abhishek, and in this course, let us just start with the introduction. First of all, my name is Abhishek, and I will be the trainer for this course. So if you have any queries, you can feel free to ask anytime. But before starting off with anything, before starting off with the course, there are a few things. Right now, like everyone has muted their mics, so keep it muted. Whenever you want to ask something, you can unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay. Now let us start with syllabus. So this is our syllabus. These are the things that we're going to do, and we would be starting off with very basics. We would be starting off with the basics of Java. Then we would be learning about how the things work in Selenium, and then we would be moving to the next topic of Java and so on. The reason is that I want to go side by side rather than covering Java first and then covering the other Selenium concepts, right? So we will be going parallelly. We would be learning things of Java and then we would be implementing those things in Selenium, right? Now, there are some frequently asked questions that have been asked to us a lot of times in the past, we say, sessions, right? So, see what all will be taught in the course. See, we would be learning Java, as I told earlier. We would be learning WebDriver, which is Selenium, and we would be covering frameworks. We would be covering Maven and TestNG, Jenkins, and Grid. So WebDriver is okay, Java is okay, but other things are required for framework, right? We want a end-to-end framework where we would be having a complete project created end-to-end, which is say which will be working for us in any way we want it to work. Okay. Next question is, will I get access to the videos? Yes, you will be getting access to the all the pre-recorded sessions which are already there on our website. And the next thing is, say, do you record current sessions? See, as you may have seen on your screen as well, this session is getting recorded. So you will be getting access to these videos as well, right? Now the thing is Java required? See, this would be the question many of you would be having in your mind, that I don't know programming and whether I would be able to work with it or not, whether I would be able to learn Selenium or not. See, I'm just assuming that you know if conditions, for loops, while loops, functions, and variables, right? We just need this much of knowledge. Other things would be covered. And say if anyone is having already this knowledge, no need to worry about that as well. Okay. So this is just a plus point if someone is already knowing about say more deep concepts of Java, but we just require few things, that is knowledge about if conditions, how these work, how loops work, and how functions work, right? Next thing is I need help in my project or to clear interview. See, if you want to start off with Selenium, it will just take 10 to 15 days. You can start off with this, and say if you devote 6 to 8 weeks of practice, you can say you can tell everyone that you are working on Selenium and you're good at it. But still, what I want you to have is at least spend 2 to 3 hours a day so that anything we are covering, like you get to understand that thing in a different ways, right? The more you'll practice, the more easy it will be for you to clear an interview or work on any project, right? We would be having say a complete project built from scratch, so no need to worry about that. But I want you guys to devote your time on this so that any issues you face, I'm there for you. I'll be helping you guys with the issues, whatever issues you face, but I want you guys to practice this a lot. Watching the videos won't help. You need to practice a lot, and you need to come up with different ideas on your mind as well while we are covering this course. The thing is that I cannot say cover up say 20 different scenarios for the same thing. So I want you guys to learn, say practice those things yourself, try different things. See, everyone faces issues, that is okay, but I'm here for you guys, we are here for you guys to solve those issues, but practice. Okay. So next question is, what would be the duration of this course? See, the course would be around say 27 to 28 hours, right? And it depends on the level of understanding you guys are having. It may take 30 hours as well. It may take 25 hours as well. So the more you conceptual understand, the faster we'll go, right? And the next thing is, say, how we are dividing this whole thing. See, the Selenium part, it usually consumes around, say, you'll be having an idea about Selenium in and around 15 to 16 days, right? Then the next, say, Selenium Basics, right? The next thing is the remaining days, that would be around 13 to 14 days. That would be completely our framework, or you can say that project development, right? Now, what does project development mean? What all things it includes? See, we would be having TestNG or JUnit, right? And we would be having Maven. Maven is very important. Then we would be having Jenkins, and we would be having Ant. Now, whenever we have a framework, this also includes few things. For example, say generation of reports, right? Apart from this, in reports, what all things we need? For example, we need detailed logs. And in case if we face issues, we need the screenshots as well, right? So all these things we need. Apart from this, there is something very important, that is we would be needing a concept of grid. Now, what grid is, what Selenium grid is, and how would we be able to work on it? So we would be covering end-to-end things, right? Now, let us just start off with Selenium first, right? So what Selenium is, and say how would we be able to work with it, and what all things are involved, right? So the first thing is, let us just head over to the official website of Selenium, that is selenium.dev or seleniumhq.org. So they had two domains. Now they have shifted to selenium.dev only. So this is the website. Now you can see on your screen, they are simply telling us Selenium automates web browsers, right? That's it. Now how Selenium works and what all things we are going to do with it. It simply is that the way I'm interacting with, say, the website, right? I'm on my Chrome browser. I'm opening selenium.dev and I'm interacting with this page. Say I have highlighted this text. What I want to read this text, I'm able to read this text, right? I want to click here, I would be able to do that. So right now I'm able to do these things manually. Now Selenium eliminates this need. We don't need human interaction here. There is no human intervention needed, right? There is no manual tester needed. Now the thing is that everything would be done with the help of the code, right? Now, when it comes to code, then say in what language we can write code. So as I mentioned earlier, we would be using Java, but Java is not the only version that Selenium supports. See, Java is supported, but there are other languages supported as well. For example, Ruby, Python, C Sharp, right? So how this is possible? Now, the thing is that suppose this is our browser, right? Now, browser is something which understands only one thing, right? This understands JavaScript. Now, do not get confused between Java and JavaScript. These two are completely different things, right? Now, this means that there is something happening in between, right? Now, for example, this is our front end where we are writing the code. Okay. And the code we are writing is in, say, Java, or say we are writing it in Ruby, or say Python, or say C sharp, right? But how come this is possible with Selenium that it is supporting these many languages, right? Now the thing is that whenever we write this code, okay, what happens is that Selenium acts as an intermediator, right? So how it acts as an intermediator, what happens is that we write the code in Selenium, right? For example, in Java, that code goes to Selenium, and what Selenium does is Selenium converts that code to JavaScript and forwards that code back to, say, browser. So the code does not reach to the browser directly. What happens is that in our IDE, we write the code. For example, in Java, I write some code, and that is a Selenium code. Now Selenium converts that code to JavaScript, which browser understands. Now it can be anything we want. For example, say we want to click, or we want to type, right? Or we want to take screenshot, right? Or we want to scroll. So anything we can do normally, manually, we can do those things with the help of Selenium, and Selenium ultimately converts all the code to the JavaScript so that browser understands it and browser does the work that we want it to do, right? Now over here, see, we would be dealing with Selenium in with Java. So now you might be confused at what version of Selenium we need to use, right? Now, since the launch of Selenium, there have a lot of versions come up, right? So Selenium initially started with Selenium remote control, right? Then in the beginning of say this decade, right? They came up with this Selenium WebDriver, that was version 2, right? And back in say 2016 or 2017, they came up with Selenium WebDriver 3, right? Now WebDriver 3 is the stable version, right? And last year they came up with WebDriver 4. Now, which is still in say beta stage, alpha stage actually, and it is unstable, right? Now, the thing is that the question you may have in your mind is, say, which version will we be using, right? So let us just remove off the say WebDriver 2 and say remote control part. Now this is the thing that we would be concerned about. See, the major difference in WebDriver 3 and 4 is almost nothing. There are little bit changes. 90% of the things, right, are completely same. So the commands are not changed. So what we would be doing is we would start off with Selenium WebDriver 4 so that you guys would be updated to the latest version. In case if we face some issues, right, as it is unstable, it is not stable, we would be switching back to WebDriver 3 anytime, right? The most stable version of WebDriver 3 is say 3.141.59. As you can see on the official website of Selenium as well, you can see that 3.141.59 is the stable version, which came up in November 14, 2018, almost 2 years back, right? Recently, they came up with the 4 version, Alpha 6. So this is the latest version. And to download these things, right, how would you be able to do that? Simply click on download for the stable version and alpha download for the unstable version, which is the latest version, right? So we would be trying off the latest version because the things that we would be covering are almost same, that there is no say no difference in the basic commands that we execute, right? There would be little bit differences that we would be coming off in the say coming time. Right now there is no need of discussing those things immediately, right? Once you are aware of the Selenium concepts, then we will be discussing about those things, right? In case if you want to see the change log, you can see the change log as well. Here they are giving us the complete detailed change log, what has changed since the past version. And as I told you, WebDriver started off with version 2. So if you go to the bottom, you can see that 2.1.0 was the version they came up with, right? So this is the complete change log since the beginning of Selenium WebDriver. You can read everything over here, whatever has been fixed, whatever has been changed, and say what issues were there. They say they noted out, right? Everything is here. In case if you want to read that, you can go with that. And in case if you want to go with the older version of Selenium, say that Selenium WebDriver 2, you can still work with that, but there is no more compatibility with the browsers. The browsers are getting updated day to day, and now the things are not say much more compatible with the say Selenium WebDriver 2. They had the 2.53 version, which was the most stable version at that time, and then they came up with 3. Okay. Now the next thing, that is importance of Java. So say we need to use Java, right? So which version of Java we would be using and what exactly we would be using. So let us just do one thing. For working with Selenium, we need to download JDK, right? So we can simply do one thing. You can look up for JDK download, right? And on Google, if you search for this, Google takes you to this particular page, that is Java SE downloads, right? So here you can go on this page and you would notice that the latest version is Java SE 14, right? Now, if you see the latest version, it would be on your mind that, okay, Java SE 14 is the latest version. Let's use it. Okay. No, you don't have to use Java SE 14. Selenium is compatible with Java 8, right? So what you have to do is that scroll down a bit on the same page, you'll find Java 11. And then if you scroll down more, you would find Java SE 8, right? If you notice something, 8. U251 is the version of, say, the latest version of Java SE 8. Now you may be having a question in your mind, why Java SE 8 and not 11 or 14? The thing is that Oracle people come up with latest versions almost every 6 months, right? So if we see something, Oracle JDK roadmap, right? Now, if you go to the first link, you can see that there is a chart they've prepared. That there is a table they've prepared, and if you see, if you go with this table, you can read few things. Now, first thing is the first version they've mentioned is Java SE 7, right, or JDK 7. Now, JDK 7 is okay. I'm talking about JDK 8. JDK 8 is the version which is supported until December 2030, right? Apart from that, there is JDK 11, which is supported till September 2026. JDK 14 is the latest version, which came up in March 2020, but will be out of market in September 2020. So almost 2-3 months left, right? So it is completely unstable. So it is not suggested to use any of these versions apart from JDK 8, which is very stable and it is still getting developed. So no need to worry about that we won't be getting updates for this. Every 3-4 months they come up with the update which provides us more stability and more security, right? So let us just download JDK 8. For that, let us just go back to the tab. So here, scroll down and move to the part where you can see Java SE 8U251 or any latest version while you're downloading, right? The major concern is Java SE 8. Now here, go to JDK download. Do not click on anywhere else. Go to JDK download and they'll be taking you to a page where you can download these things, right? So over here, now there are a lot of versions mentioned here. For example, Linux ARM 32, Linux ARM 64. right? Usually we use 64-bit based processors. In case if you're using an extraordinary machine, then you need to be concerned about the version of say file you're downloading. In case if you're using Linux, you can simply go with one of the RPM say packages or the compressed packages, right? In case if you're using Macintosh, no need to worry. There is only one file that you have to download. That is this DNG file, right? In case if you're using Windows and your system is old, then you might be needing a 32-bit version, which is x86. And in case if you're using the say the laptop or system which was released after 2012, no need to worry. It is already 64-bit. You can download that. But again, if you're confused which version you need to download, you can do one thing. You can go to my computer, and here in computer you will be able to see system properties, right? Here you can see something on your screen, 64-bit operating system, right? So I'm using 64-bit OS. You can see that. You can see the same thing on your Windows 7 machine as well by just right clicking on this PC and going to properties. Okay. So over here, we need to download the 64-bit version. So let us just download that. Now, once you click on this page, it will be asking you for some terms and conditions. Just say check these things and click on download JDK. Now, the moment you click on this link, it will be taking you to a login page where you need to provide your credentials for Oracle account. In case if you have the account, no need to worry. You can simply provide your credentials and the download will start. And in case if you don't have the account, you can simply click on create account, and it does not ask for credit card details. It is just a free account, but they just want to track things, who is downloading stuff. So you can create your free account here and you can download the JDK, right? Once JDK is downloaded, it is very easy to install. Next, next, next. Yes, yes, yes. And you're done. Then the next thing is after installation of JDK, right? What we would be needing. JDK 8 is done. Right? So what else is needed? Now we would be needing something which would be helping us write the code and execute the code. For that, we would be using an IDE. Now what is IDE? IDE is integrated development environment, right? So this simply means that this would be providing us a environment where we can write the code and we can execute that code. Now, which IDE we would be using? There are a lot of IDEs in the market. So we would be using a free one, which is Eclipse, and it is very good for Java, right? It is one of the best IDEs for working with Java, right? So let us just go to the official website of Eclipse, that is eclipse.org, right? So here it is getting down, say we are opening this page. Now on this page, you can simply click on download and you will be taken to the download page, where again you need to click on the download 64-bit because it does not start the download immediately by itself, right? And here on this page, it will start the download. Okay, so once the file is downloaded, it would be around 50 to 60 MBs. Then it will be taking around 5 to 10 minutes for the installation. I'll guide you through the installation. I won't be installing it. The installation is pretty easy, nothing to worry about, but there is some path that you need to remember. So I'll show you that path where you can find that path. Okay. So many of you guys would already be aware of these things, how to install Eclipse and how to work with Eclipse. You guys already have some version of Eclipse installed on your machine as well, right? No need to download the latest version if you already have any version installed on your machine. Just make sure that that version of Eclipse is supported with JDK 8, right? For example, Eclipse Luna, if anyone is using Eclipse Luna, no need to worry that you need to download the latest version. You won't be able to work with, say, Selenium or Java. No, it is supported. Don't worry. We also use Eclipse Luna sometimes somewhere. I used to use Eclipse Luna, but as people demand us the latest versions, that is why I'm downloading the latest version. Okay, so you can open this. It will take around a minute or two to initialize, and then it will be asking you for a few things, right? In case if you're not able to find the version on the website that you want to install, you need not to worry. Installer shows you all the versions that you can install as well, right? What happens is that sometimes some version of Eclipse, the latest version of Eclipse, is incompatible with your machine. Then what you can do, the same installer, you can install the older version as well. This helps in doing that as well. Okay, so it is stuck. It usually takes 1 minute to initialize, and it is taking that time, right? And say, just a second. Okay, so it is here. Now what you have to do is that you need to choose the option Eclipse IDE for Java developers, right? Click here and you will be taken to this page where it would be showing you the installation folder, right? This is the folder which is important, and just make a note of this folder address and copy this and keep it somewhere. For example, you can temporarily open Notepad and paste that path here. Why? I'll show you the reason as well. Now, in case if you don't want to go with the latest version, then what you have to do is that you need to click here, and here you need to click on advanced mode, where you would be taken to the same page again, but with more options. Right? So these are the options, and it gives you a lot of options. Again, Eclipse IDE for Java developers, this is what we need. But now you have an option for product version, Luna, Kepler, Juno. So since Eclipse Juno, JDK8 was supported with this, so you can download any of the versions you would need to have, right? And I'm having the version, I think so, this 2020-03, right? So this is stable for me. You can download any of the version if in case if you're facing issues with the latest version, right? So I'm not installing this right now. It has already been installed. Now about the path that we copied. What happens is that in a very rare scenario, Eclipse does not create a shortcut on your screen, right? On your desktop, it does not create a shortcut, right? Then what do you have to do in that case, right? So go to this path, and on this path, you'll find a file named eclipse.exe. You can simply start that file and you're good to go. So this is my Eclipse. Now, whenever you start Eclipse, it shows you something like this. Just a second. So it will be showing me a screen. And here, this is the screen that we get. Eclipse IDE launcher. Now it asks us for a location, right? If you notice something on a screen, select a directory as workspace. Now the question is, what is workspace? Workspace is a place where you would be keeping all your projects, right? All your code. So this is a location on a hard drive or say on your desk where you would be keeping all your stuff, right? And you need to choose this path. For example, I'll be choosing some folder name over here, say 2020, then June, then sorry, say Selenium, then June, right? So over here, this is the workspace directory that I have created, right? Now I'll copy the whole path as well, and I'll click on launch, right? Now, in case if the folder exists, that is okay. In case if doesn't exist, it will be creating that folder, right? So over here, this is the folder which has been created. Right now it has a folder named as .metadata. Do not delete this folder. Make sure that you don't delete this folder. Now, on the other hand, Eclipse is started, right? It takes a little bit time for the initialization and it has almost started in a moment, right? And whenever you choose the workspace for the first time, it usually takes around 50 to 60 seconds to start up because it has to create some files that it would be storing there. Okay. And it is taking a bit more time. Just be there. Okay. So it has started. Let us just maximize it to the full screen. Now, this is a welcome page. So let us just close this welcome page. Now there are few things on your screen, right? First of all, close this task list. This page has few things that we're going to discuss and what all things it has. So see, there are three sections, this section, and this section, right? Let us start with the first section. This is a package explorer. All the code you create, the file names would be shown over here with their structure, right? Now the next section, that is this one. Now this is the section where you would be writing your code. So this window is this, right? All the code you write would be on this particular section and you would be able to see the different files in different tabs. Next section is this third one, right? And this section is kind of important. The thing is that whenever you execute your code, right? This section shows you the output and logs. So this is very important to see. So do not close any of the sections. Now, in case if you close any of the tabs here, then what you need to do? No need to worry. You can go to window, then this editor, right? Sorry, appearance. And here you would be able to few things. In case if you don't see anything, you can go to the views and it shows you all the things that you have on the screen. For example, on the left side, you are having Package Explorer. In view, you can see that Package Explorer is here. There is Project Explorer as well. On the bottom of your screen, you are able to see Problems tab, Java doc, and Declaration. Problems is important. You can see that here. Java doc and declaration is not that important. In case if you want to see few things, you can have these tabs open over here. And in case these are closed, you can open these from here. There are some other tabs as well that we would be dealing with. For example, the console tab, right? And there are more tabs coming in the future. So we would be discussing about those tabs, right? Now, this is the basic view. Now the question is how to start off with Eclipse. This is pretty easy. Right click here. It won't be allowing me to right click over here right now, right? So there is the option of create Java project. You can click on create Java project and it will be taking you to this particular screen where it would be asking you for the project name, right? So I can provide a project name, for example, Selenium training, right? So if I click on next, we can go with it, right? And I can finish. Now my project has been created. All the code I write would be inside this project, right? But where this project resides, if you remember something while starting Eclipse, I showed you some path, right? We chose some path that is the workspace path, right? So that is the path where we would be keeping all our files, right? So this is the path. If I open it, you can see on your screen, there is a folder created named as Selenium training, right? And this is inside 2020 Selenium June, right? Now, let us just start off with the very basics. For example, creating the first Java file, how would you be able to do that? And how you would be able to work with it, right? So right click here and click on new or go to new, then you would be able to see a lot of options, right? On this page, On this part, you need to click on class and you would be taken to this particular part where you would be say asked to choose a name. So let us just create a name as basics, right? So I'll say create the name as Java basics, right? I'll click on finish. Now the Java basics file has been created. Now on this page, on the screen, you would see some code written. So there are two lines written, public class Java basics. Now this is our class name, right? And there are two brackets and nothing is inside them, right? Now, whenever you need to execute the code, you would be needing something that is the main method, right? Main method, or you can say that main function, right? So how would you be able to create that? So you can simply write public static void main, right? And here like this, right? And you are having the main method. Now, whenever you need to execute the code, any code you specify inside it would be executed. Say, I would like to print something, right? So how would I be able to do that? This is simple. System dot out dot print ln, right? And we would be printing some stuff here that I would like to print. For example, I would like to print Selenium, right? Now I will be clicking on this particular run button and the code will be executed. And in case if you guys are not able to see this code, just let me know. I'll increase the font size so that you guys would be able to read this code normally, right? Now over here, Selenium has got printed over here and the new tab came up, that is the console tab, which told us that this got executed and this was the output, right? Now over here, this is what we executed. Now, if we go to the folder that we saw earlier, right? Selenium training. Now there are few files created, right? There is a source folder that we can see on Eclipse as well, source folder, right? But there are few other things on the folder. For example, the bin folder. There is .settings folder and .class path file and the project file, which is the file for this project information. But there is a bin folder. Now, if we go inside this bin folder, you would be able to see the file named as Java basics.class, right? Now there is a class file in bin folder and there is a file in source folder. In source folder, we have a file named as Java basics.java, right? Now the question is, what is the difference between both of these files? Let us just edit this Java basics.java file. If we notice something, this is the same text that we've written over here as well, right? A total of 7 lines with the code in line number 2 to line number 6. The same thing here, right? So what is the difference? There is no difference. Both of the files have the same text, but whenever you deal with Java, right? This is not the file that you deal with actually. The file which gets executed is something else. So if we go to this particular folder, that is bin. Bin is known as binary. Now binary is the thing that gets executed. Now there is a class file. Now class file is supported in all the machines wherever Java is supported, right? For example, Linux, Macintosh, Solaris, Windows. So this file can be executed anywhere without even modification. This can be executed directly, right? Now, if we try to edit this file, you can see that it has something written which we do not understand, right? It is not in binary, it is some in some different way which we cannot understand at all, right? But this is the file which gets executed and this is understood by Java, right? So let us just close this. Now what if I create some other file here, right? For example, I'll create a new file here right? A new class here named as, say, Selenium Basics, right? And here in this file, we need the main method again, right? So how would we be able to have that? Now, I know you guys won't be able to remember this whole line. Even sometimes I forget that whole line as well. So is there any shortcut that we can use? Actually, yes. So what we have to do is that we just need to type main and then hit control space. Now Eclipse is a IDE which is, say, smart, and it tells us that it actually asks us that what we need. Do we need main method? And it highlights this thing. The moment I hit enter on it, you can see that it has added the same thing that I wrote earlier, right? So instead of me typing the whole thing, it simply added the code suggestion here, right? Now over here, say, as I told you earlier, I'm considering few things that you already know. For example, how, say, how the variables work, what is, say, int, and say what is string, and say what are how loops work, right? So how functions work, right? So these are the things that I won't be covering, right? But say in case if you would want to print some data, right? We discussed about printing something earlier as well. Say I would like to print something, that is, say I would like to have something initialized first. For example, initializing an integer type variable. This is something like this, equal I equals to 100. So this is how you initialize it. Make sure that you're providing semicolon in the ending, right? Say I'll initialize another variable of type string. So s equals to, right? So this is done. Now I would like to print this data. I can do that. So system.out.println, but I use some shortcut, right? What was that shortcut? So the shortcut is pretty easy. Simply type SYSO, then hit control space, and you'll get this line printed over here, system.out.println, where you can print data. For example, I'd like to print hello, right? So hello world, right? I can do that. I'll run that and you can see that hello world is getting printed, right? Now, suppose I'd like to print the value of I and S. I can do that as well. So system.out.println, and I'll print something like this. I is, right? Then here I will be concatenating some data, right? So this is the string which I'm concatenating with another data that is coming from variable. So this is how I can print the data, right? So say I is this, and in the same way I can print out S is as well. So S is, and here I'll concatenate this, and this is done, right? I'll click on this play button again. This is the run button. This will execute the code, and it is asking me to save the code before launching. So I've saved the code, and you can see that this is the output we are getting, right? Now, if I go back to the bin directory, you would find another file created, Selenium Basics. So what happens is that whenever we create a Java file here in Eclipse, it automatically creates a, say, class file for that particular file. And this file contains some data again, which we cannot understand, right? If I edit it with Notepad++ or any other editor, we won't be able to read the data. Yes, we are able to read some information, but it is of no use for us, right? Now, what to do with all these files, right? What we can do with all these files? These are the files that we can share with anyone without exposing our code, whatever we have written, right? For example, we can compress this code and we can share it. And the simplest example is a jar file, right? What we do is we keep same code, we keep all the code like .class files and jar file, and we share it with the person that we want to share with, right? Now, this means that Selenium is something which also would be requiring something like this, right? Now, Selenium is not a software, right? It is a library. It is a Java-based library that we would be using, right? So this means that if I go to selenium.dev, you would be able to see few things, right? And if we go to the downloads and we download this 4.0 alpha, right? On the very top, they're giving us a link. No need to fiddle around in the bottom and look for the links. You can simply click on one of these links in case if you want to go with the stable variant, you can go with this particular file. And I'm going with this alpha 6 file. Okay, so this is downloaded. It will be downloaded in a moment. It is around 20 to 30 MB file. And once downloaded, we would be able to work with it. But if you notice something, this has the name .jar. So this is a Java archived resource, right? Now, if you go back to Eclipse, you would find something over here. There is a Java library as well, JRE system library. It is also a complete, collection of jar files. If you expand something, you would be able to find, say, few files. Right now, it is a properties file. Okay, these all are properties files. Just a minute. This is not we what we need right now. Okay, my system got stuck. Just a second, guys. Okay, it is back. So for example, here you can see that dot class file. In the same way, we would be having dot class files here as well. So dot class files are the files that we share with other people, right? Now over here, what we can do is, this means that if we write something like this, say system .out.println, and I write something like this, right? And if I run this, what would happen is in the last line, you would see the date getting printed. Okay, it did not get print. I made a mistake. So what is the mistake? I need to import the date. So I have imported date from java.util. Now it will work for me. I'll click on run and this will execute. Now if you notice something, it is printing the current date and time, right? Now the thing is that I did not calculate this date. So there is date class somewhere over here in one of these jar files, and the date is calculated by those one of those files, and it is being provided to us to me by just calling this line, that is new date, right? Don't get deep into this right now. What I'm trying to make you understand is the use of class file, how it works, right? Now over here, in the same way, Selenium is a library which is a jar file, right? So I'll keep it. Now it has been downloaded somewhere in my machine. So let us just keep it in a folder where we would be able to access it. So I have kept a copy of this over here in my system in essentials, jars, Selenium. So there is a file. Okay, there is no file. I need to keep it here. And if we go to the downloads, I just downloaded it right now. So it would be here, right? What I'll do is I'll keep it in a directory where we would be able to use it. So this is my workspace directory, A batches Selenium 2020 Selenium June. I'll create a folder over here named as jars, right? And I'll create a new folder here inside it, Selenium. And in this folder, I would be keeping this file, right? So the file is here that we would want to use, right? And this is the file that you would be downloading as well, right? Now remember this path. What you have to do is that now to work with Selenium in your project, you need to include Selenium in the project. How? As it is a library, we need to import it. So right click on your project, and here on the bottom, you can see properties. There are some other options that we would be covering by time. Whenever they would be needed, we would be discussing about those things, right? So let us just go to properties, and here in the properties, go to Java build path. Inside Java build path, move to the libraries tab. Here you can find Java SE system library, right? Here what you need to do is that click on add external jars. Make sure that you're clicking on add external jars instead of add jars or add variable, right? Click on add external jars, click here, and you would be taken to this screen where you would be having this file, right? So in case if you don't see that on your screen, don't worry. You have, you know, the folder location where it is. So it is on my systems A drive batches 2020 June, and here in jars folder and Selenium folder we have this particular file. I'll click on open and click on apply and close. Now you would see something adding up over here, that is referenced libraries. See that Selenium jar has been added, right? Now if we expand it, you would be able to see a lot of folders here. Inside these folders, we would be able to see the files. For example, say, just a second. For example, let us just expand any folder. Okay. So I'll expand any of the folders here. Okay. Say for example, this. Now there are some class files, right? So what we would be doing is we would be using these files. No need to worry that how we would be able to do that and stuff. For example, to work with Chrome browser, right? What we need to do is that we need to write this line new Chrome driver, right? Now, how would you get to know about this, that this is something you need? For that, what you have to do is that go back to the official website of Selenium, go to downloads page, scroll down a bit, and here on the screen, you would be able to find Java, and there are API docs written. Go to this link, and here you would be able to see all the stuff related to Selenium, right? Whatever you need regarding Selenium, this is here, right? For example, I just mentioned about Chrome browser. So Chrome browser is somewhere over here. That is, say, Chrome driver. So yeah, Chrome driver, right? Now, the question that you may have in your mind is what all browsers are supported by Selenium. So if we scroll down to the bottom, we would find something, WebDriver. Let us just open it. On the screen, you would be able to see there are few browsers which are supported. For example, Chrome browser, Edge browser, Firefox browser, Internet Explorer browser, then Opera browser, and then Safari browser. There are two other things as well. That is event firing WebDriver and remote WebDriver. What are these things used for? So remote WebDriver is something which is for grid, right? So when we would be dealing with Selenium grid, we would be using this particular class, that is remote WebDriver, right? Do not get concerned about this interface WebDriver right now. The thing that I want you guys to understand is this, that these are the things that we need to use. And with the help of this documentation, you can try up anything you would want to. See, even I don't remember all the things mentioned over here, right? So we would be going through this particular documentation whenever we need something, okay? Whenever we need to understand something. So the most common thing is Firefox driver, Chrome driver, and other browser driver that we would be using, right? For example, to say to work with Selenium, for example, I've written this code, right? What would happen? Let me just comment out the other part of code, right? And I'll run this code. So the code is running. It will take a little bit time. And if you notice something, Chrome browser has opened, right? So I'm able to open Chrome browser with a blank page on my machine with the help of code. I did not go to my desktop or start menu and look for Chrome browser. I just specified a command here which allowed me to open the Chrome browser. Now, with the help of this command, we would be able to do a lot of things. So we would be doing a lot of things with Selenium with the browsers, right? Now, this was about the basics. Now, about the say uh, problems we face in the code. Now, whenever we write code, we usually face a lot of problems. Like there is some kind of a issue in the code. For example, a logical error, right? So there may be a logical error, or there may be another type of error, that is syntax error. Now, what these types of errors are? Logical error is something where you have the code is executing normally to us. We can see the code is executing completely, but it is not giving us the desired output. On the other hand, syntax error is something where we wrote the code in a wrong way. So it is not executing, right? Now the thing is that you may come up with these errors. Logical error is most common, and we don't get to understand where the problem is, right? So let us just do one thing. Let us just discuss about something which would help us in getting rid of our errors, that is debugging, right? So what is debugging? As the name says, debugging, this means that removal of bugs, right? So how we can remove bugs, how we can remove logical errors. So it is pretty simple. What we would be doing is we would be say executing in the code in a debugging way so that we get to see the things line by line. Now, how would we be able to do that? For that, we need to move to the perspective of debugging. So how would we be able to do that now, right? So on the top right corner of your Eclipse, you would be able to see something that is say open perspective, right? So what is this open perspective and how would we be able to deal with it? So over here, perspective is something that is the current view of the things on your Eclipse screen. Now it is optimized for different things. For example, if you're writing the Java code, then you don't be say you won't be debugging it, right? So the things related to debugging are not there. But when you would be debugging, there are few things that you would be needing. For example, these things, right? You need to see the variables, you need to see the breakpoints. Now, what breakpoints are, we'll be discussing them in some time. So now you would notice something that the view has changed, right? So now over here, this is the view that we need. And to change the view, it is very simple. Simply click on open perspective and double click on the view that we need. For example, I'm in debugging view. So I just want to be in debugging view right now. Now to start debugging, how would you be able to do that? For example, I'm executing this code, and while running this code, I'm facing some issues and I'm getting some errors. Right now it is executing absolutely fine. But what if I'm getting errors? So how would I be able to understand this? Now the thing is that to get rid of that error, where that error is coming up and how would you be able to handle that? Right? What you need to do is you need to add a breakpoint. Now the question is, what is a breakpoint? Breakpoint is something which pauses the execution of code, right? So over here, we would be adding a breakpoint. For example, I would like to add a breakpoint on line number 11. How would I be able to do that? Simply double click on the number 11 and you have added a breakpoint. Now you want to verify whether the breakpoint has been added or not. Move to the breakpoints tab in the right section and you would find that breakpoint here, right? Now Whenever you execute the code, you usually click on this green button that is run Selenium Basics, and it is telling us that it is running, right? Let me just terminate the code. In Selenium, sometimes what happens is that the code does not stop. So let us just close this, right? So we usually click on run, but whenever we are debugging the code, we do not click on this button. There's a button on the left, that is the debug button. Now we would be clicking the debug button. Now the thing is that if we notice something, nothing got printed here. The line number 11 got highlighted and it is green in color. Now what is this thing? This means that the code is executing normally, but has paused over line number 11, right? Now it is asking me whether what to do, whether I would like to stop the code execution or I want to move forward, right? So let us just say that I want to move forward. So what I would be doing now? Now what you have to do is that you need to hit the key on your say screen, that is step over or F6. So you can hit the physical key F6. Now the moment you hit F6 key, you can see that the code has moved to the next line. The cursor has moved to the next line. This is at line number 12. This means that line number 11 got executed, but line number 12 has not been executed yet, right? If I hit F6 again, the cursor will move to the next line. Now line number 11 and 12 have executed, but 14 has not executed. If I go to the variables tab, right, you can see that there are two variables, I and S, and I can see the values inside them as well, right? Now let us just hit F6. So line number 14 got executed, which had the code for printing hello world, right? Then I'll try printing something else. Say this line number 15, that is I is 100. Then I'll hit F6 again and it will be printing S is S, right? S is hello. Now if I hit F6 again, it will be executing the last line, that was line number 18, and this is done. But the code has not stopped yet. Why? Because it has not reached the end. So if you hit F6 again, it will be completed now, right? Now it has terminated. This means that you're done executing it. Now the thing is that right now there are only 19 to 20 lines, which is not an ideal scenario. The ideal scenario is something where you would be having around 100 to 200 or maybe thousands of lines of code, and you would be debugging the things there, right? So while learning, debugging is very important. You need to know how we debug. So over here, suppose you are debugging the code and you've reached the line number 11. Now you don't want to wait forward. You don't want to hit F6 key again and again. So what is the thing that you're going to do? You can simply hit F8 key and it will completely execute the remaining code. It will not stop anywhere until or unless it faces any issue or there is another breakpoint. For example, if I add a breakpoint at line number 18, now there are two breakpoints, one at line number 11, one at line number 18, right? Now what I'll do is I'll again debug this code and I'll hit F8, right? So I hit F8. It moved from this breakpoint, line number 11 breakpoint, to directly to line number 18 breakpoint. But it executed all the code in between. It did not skip off that code. So we do not use debugging to skip off the code. It executes the code. It's just that it waits for our command for the execution of next line. Okay. So over here, this is about debugging. This is how you would be able to debug the code. And I want you guys to practice this. I want you guys to debug your code. Whenever you face issues, it tells you about the issue that you're facing, right? Where that issue is coming up, and you can simply look up for the solution anywhere. Okay. So this was for today's lecture. If you have any queries, you can feel free to ask.